And actually,
Greetings and welcome to Mount Olympus. I am Hercules Invictus. The age of heroes has dawned, and we continue to follow the path of public service. Today, we continue our meeting with the 2022 Board of Education candidates, and we'll be speaking with Marisa Buonomo. Greetings, Marisa. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity to participate in this interview and for making time to accommodate me. So I'm going to formally introduce myself. My name is pronounced Marisa Buonomo, and I have been a resident of Tenafly since 1991 and employed as an educator for 30 years. I find it an absolute privilege to work with children of all ages. And as of the last 20 years, I've been a school counselor at the elementary level in Fort Lee.
Okay.
So yeah, ever since I was a kid, ever since I was a young child, I innately knew I'd be actively involved in working with children. I completed my undergrad studies at Fairleigh Dickinson University, right in Teaneck, New Jersey. And there I received a dual certification in English literature and in secondary and elementary education. I then went on to pursue my master's degree with a dual cert in school social work and guidance. And I'm an anti-bullying specialist, the school that I work in. And in my spare time, I'm a piano instructor and spend time on and off giving lessons to young children. I've been married for 28 years. I have a 22-year-old daughter who recently graduated from Northwestern University. And like me, she completed her elementary and high school education in parochial schools in the Bergen County area. So as a resident of Tenafly, and given the nature of the times in which we live, I've been encouraged by my friends and colleagues in, pursuing a seat on the Tenafly BOE. And as an educator and a counselor, I've spent a great deal of time on the job working as a mediator for parents, administrators, teachers, students. My role is to assist parents, their children, and their teachers in providing support for them in achieving the best possible outcome in really difficult situations sometimes. And as a teacher, I recognize the importance of open communication. That's paramount between parents and the children's teachers. And throughout these past decades, I've realized that there have been many, many brow-raising concerns regarding the infinite amounts of information that's bombarded our kids, our children via online and the media, entertainment. And sadly, I've watched the innocence of many children ebb away at younger and younger ages. It's just been my experience. Their innocence has been robbed from them and plucked from them like unripened fruit. And that said,
by the school system?
Not by the school system, by the things that they're surrounded with mostly social media, TV, the shows that they've been exposed to, not by the school system. No. Please don't misunderstand. But my experience with helping the parents and the children and the teachers is to navigate through all of that difficult stuff that arise through young childhood and their adolescent years. In all honesty, Hercules, I do regret not having tried to become involved in my town earlier. I'm not particularly extroverted and gregarious, but I am really passionate about helping others. And given my experience, I feel, I have a skill set that's transferable. If I can be of assistance to even just one person in making them feel understood and that their concerns and opinions are heard, I think it'll be a great thing. If you'll allow me, I'd like to share an experience that my husband and I had 23 years ago, especially in light of what happened last week with the children who were involved in that accident. It's one that I'll never forget. years ago, 23 years ago, being newly married, young and excited, my husband and I began to entertain the idea of starting a family away from New Jersey. So we chose to look at Colorado. I even went as far as to become certified to teach in that state. So we made appointments to look at homes, and coincidentally, we were scheduled to fly out west immediately after that first horrific shooting, the school shooting in Littleton, Colorado, at Columbine High School. So at that time, I was teaching 6th grade, and I told my students I'd be going to Littleton for business, but also to pay my respects for the many lives lost during that event, right? So my students carefully and intentionally made these beautiful condolence cards, which I planned to somehow leave at the school. I didn't know how I was going to get them there, but I said, I'm going to take them with me. So I collected the cards, tied a red ribbon around them, and we had a stopover at O'Hare Airport in Chicago. And we're sitting there waiting to take the connecting flight to Denver. I found myself sitting next to the parents of one of the victims. She happened to be the mom of Rachel Scott. I don't know if you remember who Rachel Scott was, but she was the first fatality of the shooting. So I didn't want to bother this woman, clearly numb from grief, but I approached her anyway. I had the bundle of cards from my students in my hands. I walked over to her. I told her how sorry I was for her and her beautiful daughter. And I told her that I was a teacher. And I conveyed that my students were praying for her and her family. I give her the cards. She holds my hands in hers, and with tears in her eyes, she tells me, she goes, could you please just tell the parents of your students. She said something along these lines. She said, tell them to spend time with their kids and know what they're doing. Tell them to get to know their friends and to get involved. And it wasn't before long when she started to cry. And, you know, I couldn't believe it. I went back to my seat, waiting to board the plane. I'll never forget it. It's inspired me to become the counselor I am today, as well as to try to get involved, to pay attention, to pay it forward. So it felt really right to leave her with those cards. And yeah, my husband and I did eventually go to the grounds of Columbine campus. We stopped at each of those crosses erected for the 13 victims. That's a site that I'll never forget for as long as I live. You know, there were teddy bears and letters and candles and flowers at the foot of the crosses. You know, I often say to myself, if those children had a voice today, they would want us to spread the words of peace, acceptance, and love. And I'd like to think that, you know, I'm going to try and do something now by giving it back in whatever capacity that I can.
It sounds like you're someone who already is very dedicated to education and to helping people, especially children and their families. How will your being on the board of education continue your mission to bring this care?
Well, you know, I find that, you know, the 31 years that I have invested in the educational career, and throughout that time, I've watched and listened to my friends and colleagues that run for the Board of Ed and participate in the PTA, many of them who shared various situations that they've encountered. And speaking for myself, in my profession, I've had to mediate and help parents make very, very important decisions that would impact their child's whole academic career, whether it's retaining a child, making recommendations that parents aren't necessarily ready for, and with a listening ear, and with like presenting all of the, you know, pros and cons. I feel like I'm really good at being able to bring both parties together to an understanding to find a workable solution.
And that's an important skill to have. How will you apply this skill toward the challenges that the Board of Education faces in Tenafly?
Well, I find that listening to the parents and listening to their concerns, um, being a voice for them, um, giving advice or, um, giving a different perspective as to what parents really want, and having their voices heard.
Can you give me an example of an issue that you feel isn't being heard or isn't being addressed by the school system here in Tenafly?
Well, I'd have to really participate a little more to really accurately answer that question. I feel like there's a lot going on in regards to the curriculum that's coming out. Some parents are really for it, others are kind of wary about it. And I'm concerned about it myself. I feel like there are many situations in which it's a really good thing for kids to learn about these things from a respected and competent educator rather than out on the playground. But it depends on their age, and it depends on whether or not they're really ready for that kind of information. Personally speaking, I think kindergarten through sixth grade, actually kindergarten through fourth grade, children are not prepared emotionally and with the right maturity to handle the kind of information that the curriculum wants to put, that's written in the curriculum. And I've been a family life instructor for many years, and some kids get it. Other kids are completely confused. And let me give you an example, like suicide, something like that. Some parents don't want that seed planted in the minds of their children. Some kids aren't even aware of what that means and what that entails. And you go in and teach a lesson about suicide, and next thing you know, kids are looking it up online and questioning their parents, and some keep it from their parents. It's a very sensitive type of topic, and that's one example.
So how would these sensitive topics be taught then to children, if not through competent educators and an approved curriculum? Are there curriculums that people don't agree with? Have they expressed their concerns to the Board of Education?
From in my experience, we've always given the parents the option to opt their child out.
Okay.
And that, I think, is something that should be considered. And I know I know that it is in Tenafly as well. I'm aware of that, but yeah, it just takes a lot of collaboration and communication to really get the consensus of what the parents really want for their children. The parents are the stakeholders of their children, and I really feel that their voices should be heard.
What mechanisms would you introduce into the system that guarantee a greater voice to parents who have concerns?
No, I think that a lot of workshops or speakers should be invited to come in to explain to the parents exactly what the curriculum is, what it entails. I feel that it should be an instructor who is consistent and well trained to deliver that information to the students. But again, I think age appropriate information. I think kindergarten through fourth grade, too young for the new curriculum that's coming out.
This is the first I'm hearing of a new curriculum. Granted, I'm not very involved with what's going on in the Board of Education, although I am involved with the schools. What exactly is coming out in the new curriculum that wasn't in the old curriculum?
I don't know yet. I'm not aware yet. we, in at least from my in my district. So that's something I'd really like to learn more about in Tenafly.
Okay, so you're not sure what exactly is being done in Tenafly right now, what isn't being done.
Correct. Correct.
But you feel because of your background, you have a lot to contribute in terms
Absolutely.
of
Absolutely.
discussing these things and coming to some sort of agreement and understanding each other clearly. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes.
So what is your vision for education here in Tenafly? How would you improve it? How would you transform it? How would you make it better than it currently is?
Well, as a guidance counselor, again, I act as a mediator for the students and parents and teachers and administrators. My role is never to take sides, but to mediate. Okay. I think that Tenafly, from what I've heard from my friends and colleagues, that there's no question about it that the education is stellar. But as educators and administrators and Board of Ed members, we should consider ourselves as being like in the customer service business. So it's to my understanding that part of the responsibility of being a board member is to actively listen, again, to the concerns of students and parents and respond to them appropriately. There's been many situations in my role as a counselor to encounter very demanding individuals, and we sometimes hit a brick wall. Again, I mentioned earlier, those situations involve whether or not retention is necessary for a child, or making decisions for a child to, that would directly impact their whole academic career. I take that very seriously. And what I've learned is that different people with different personalities should be addressed individually with, respect and decorum. I'm a firm believer of being a team player. I always tell parents and students that there's a solution to every problem, no matter how insurmountable. I don't have a combative or forceful personality, but I use compassion and understanding as a tool to mend fences, bring people together. I've had many situations in the workplace where parents, not students, but parents, have altercations with each other and concerns about, the way in which teachers teach certain topics. And again, using, positivity, understanding, a workable solutions always in reach. I think that the biggest challenge for the average student in Tenafly, oh gosh, we live in a super affluent area where children have access to everything imaginable. It's right at their fingertips. The challenge that our young children face is the instant gratification that they get from so much of the, wonderful technology that we've been afforded, but a blessing and a curse, if you will. It helps them so much, but they don't possess that persistence that's required when they sometimes fail at a particular venture. So the challenges that they face are multifaceted. Will they have friends? Will they fit in? Will they, get accepted to the college of their choice? Will they be accepted? Will they be able to get ahead and succeed? The answer to all of these questions are kind of up in the air because you can't really foresee what will happen in the future, but they do need the guidance of just one trustworthy adult figure, and not the phone, not social media, not what they see on TV. I can't begin to tell you just how many students at such a young age are exposed to very sensitive material, things that are extremely confusing to them. I talked about suicide, right, earlier. Case in point, several years ago, there was a Netflix series that was put out called 13 Reasons Why. And if you're not aware of the content of that subject matter, in short, it deals with teenage suicide, alcohol, drug use, sexuality. And so many of our students, as young as 8 years old, they were watching the full series. I would go into the classroom and be like, how many people are watching this? And they would raise it, like 90% of the kids would raise their hands. And, you know, parents were up in arms because their kids were hearing about it on the playground from their peers and asking questions. Some parents didn't want, you know, me to go into the class and or go in to talk to the kids individually. So, you know, what do you do? So in short, we did what many districts chose to do. The superintendent sent out a letter home to the parent regarding, you know, the content of the series, and we provided resource to assist the parents in dealing with such a sensitive issue. Another challenge that needs to be addressed is the use of social media. The harassment, intimidation, and bullying that occurs on social media. And as the anti-bullying specialist in my school, I often tell parents, you know, adults themselves don't know how to behave themselves on social media. How on earth do we expect our kids to be able to do so? We have to be the example. I'd like to see, you know, seminars presented to the parents about internet safety, how to set up blocks on their children's computers, you know, age appropriate, of course. So anyway, in short, I think that providing parents with a place to voice their concerns regarding their issues that may be sensitive in nature, and allowing them to make the best decisions for their children would be a good place to start. Just working collaboratively with the fine educators in our community.
The social media, though, and what plays on television, that I don't believe is something that the Board of Education can directly address.
No, but I think we can, you know, assist in helping the superintendent, you know, put out, you know, visits from, let's say, the police to come in and talk about internet safety. We've done that in our district, and I'm not sure if Tenafly has done that, but that's something, you know, to consider.
I know that several of the service organizations, they have speakers that address a lot of these topics. So your suggestion is that the school take a more active role in these issues and present.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And who would decide which issues are the ones that are to be focused on? Is that depending on what the parents bring up as their concerns?
I would say so. I would like, you know, if the parents come in and talk about, you know, some of the things that they're concerned about, absolutely. We could take a role in helping them, you know, navigate through those kinds of issues.
And how do you deal with these in your district? You shared some of the ways. Is this something that's actively going on already in Fort Lee?
It has been over the, you know, over the past decade. Yes. And, you know, it's a challenge. It's a challenge. I don't think any district is perfect. But like I said, I would really love the opportunity to, you know, be a part of my community and to give back.
Is this the only avenue that you've sought through the Board of Education? Are there other things that you've looked into that could bring these types of programs to the community?
Like I said, I'm a little late in the game. I wish I had gotten involved sooner. I was introduced to my running mates, but like I said, my friends encouraged me to, you know, pursue a seat on the BOE, and I was put into contact with my running mates. I really liked what they had to share, and I said, let me give this a shot.
Okay. Again, thank you for trying to make a difference in Tenafly and to make Tenafly a better place to live. That's what everybody here wants. I'm just trying to get a clear idea as to why you chose this particular vehicle for doing so. Those are all wonderful programs that you brought up, and There are like committees that address certain things in the town. There's all sorts of organizations that are very active in the town, some of which address those very sensitive issues that you talked about. There's all this legislation that better addresses these problems on a community level. And I know Tenafly is very communicative. You know, it's very easy to get this information as to where these things are happening and what they're about. The library has programs. A lot of the nonprofits have programs. I'm just trying to get a sense of why the Board of Ed would be the best place for you to carry on your mission.
Well, like I said, you know, I truly feel that I can bring my knowledge and expertise in my on the job knowledge in helping people collaborate with one another.
Now, you brought up running mates a couple of times, and here I confess my ignorance. The Board of Education elections that I've covered in the past few years, it's all been a handful of individuals who are basically running for the board, and then people vote for the individuals.
I know nothing about campaigning, running for a campaign, and I said, you know what, take me by the hand, lead me through this, and I think that we're doing a pretty good job of you know, navigating through this experience together. I like what they have to say. I like their ideas, and yeah, I think we would work great as a team.
So what changes as a team would you like to affect? I know where you're coming from. You're, you know, obviously someone who cares about kids and their welfare and the parental concerns, and that they're on the right direction, and they get vocational, vocational and other type of scholarly advice so they can make the best decisions. You want to lower the impact on society, on our kids, especially the ones who comes to society. So is that something the three of you agree on, and is that why you're running mates?
Well, that's something I'm passionate about. I know my running mates are feeling the same way about that. You know, we each have something different to bring to the table. So that's my focus.
Okay. And how do you think parents can be more effective in working with the school system?
Don't do what I did. Show up at the board meetings, get involved, pay attention. You know, like I said, I am late in the game. I am. I've had elderly parents that I've had to take care of. I thought that, you know, doing my job, my profession was enough. Time for me to give back.
And this is the best way to give back that you're seeing at this particular point in time.
For now, yes.
And how will you know that you've made a difference? What would you like to accomplish that will let you know, as the other things that you brought up, you have a sense of accomplishment because of what happened and what came about because of your education and your training and your experiences. How will this new chapter contribute to your contribution to the kids?
That is like, I don't have a crystal ball, but I'd like to hope that if I was elected, that I would be you know, effective, and you know, let the parent be a voice for the parents and the students.
Okay, now we're wrapping up now. We have like 6 minutes to go. I would like to invite you to share your contact information. How can people contact you? How can they get lawn signs if they want them? And where can they find out more about the things that you believe?
Well, you can go to our website. It's tenaflyboe.org. You can email me. I can send you my email. It's Marisa Buonomo at yahoo.com.
Okay, so those are the best two ways. And the Tenafly BOE, is that the Board of Education's website?
No, it's not.
Okay. And what last words do you have to share with people this way before they vote, before the debates next week? They have a better sense of who you are and what you stand for and what you seek to accomplish.
Well, again, like I said, I am really eager to be a voice for the parents, for students, for teachers, to work collaboratively. Yeah, I look forward to being of service.
Okay, thank you so very much. And thanks to everybody who tuned in. I'm assuming people are going to watch this on the YouTube a little later tonight. This has been the Age of Heroes, and now we've spoken to all the candidates who are running for the Board of Education here in Tenafly, New Jersey. And onward, we'll be speaking with candidates of other races in the days ahead. Marisa, thank you very much for your time. And thank you for sharing your vision of a better tomorrow. I wish you success in all your endeavors.
Thank you. So long now.
So long. Good night, everybody.